Good day and welcome back to all students in this part 4 of Numeracy and Mathematics 3. We have already done 3 parts. This is the last part. We are dealing with study units 6 and 7. And remember, my cell phone number and my email is there. You can always email me and or WhatsApp me or phone me if there's questions on the work, and I can assist you, but adhere to the times, please. Weekends, weekdays only, and not after 8 in the evenings. So in the afternoons, I'm usually busy with other classes. Study Unit 7, we start with statistics and probability. Just before I go on, you have to again go through part 1, because I do not repeat every time in the different parts the assignment, all the instructions for assignments and for the exams, which is really very important. You have to go through that very thoroughly, and that is in part 1, especially for the assignments where you are not allowed to copy sentences or examples from the study guide. You have to use your own examples, and you have to make the work your own. Summarize it in your own words, summarize it shorter. You don't write the whole paragraph or the whole page in each question, but summarize the work, or see how you have to do the calculations. You have to show all your work done. You have to show the method. You can't just come up with an answer and expect 3 or 4 marks for it, or even 2 marks. You must show how you get and how you got to that 2 marks. So please go through the instructions. Always show your work, and never use a 1000 separator, which is very important, especially there in study unit 1 and 2, where you have to work out interest and there's big numbers. No 1000 separator, and always read the question, see if you have to give your answer to 2 decimal places, 3 significant figures, as a whole number, as mixed numbers or improper fractions or decimal fractions. Please, all those little things are very important for you to write the exam and get good marks. And don't copy, don't get the questions from somebody else. That's really so embarrassing for me as lecturer, marking and see that you have copied it from somebody else, or you had working there, completely wrong working, but all of a sudden the correct answer appears. Then I know you've copied. That's not good. Be proud of yourself. That's the main thing. Be proud of your own thinking, even in your own doing. Be proud of yourself in what you are doing. Give your own work and don't copy from anybody else. Statistics and probability are also a few things that you have to remember very well. You have to learn and know what is mode, what is median, what is mean. That's the different averages. Our plain word in simple English is just averages. That's different kinds of averages. Mode, the condition that occurs the most. The median, always after arrangement. You have to arrange it from small to big or big to small in order to find who are standing in the middle. Median, the one standing in the middle. Mean, that's our normal arithmetic average. Add everything and divide it by the total number of objects. So do examples, do exercises, get more exercises on the internet and do them. Exercises on mode, median, and mean. It's important that you exercise. You can't start a week before the time and study for exam and think you can do it. You have to learn throughout the whole year. So let's look how to calculate the mean. We've got the mean. There's a very simple example, just 3 numbers. There can be many numbers. So I add them, get the total, and divide it by the number. There are 3, so I divide by the 3. The mean is 8. If we have frequency, we've got now a lot of people. But sometimes we do have to simple lists of numbers. You have a simple list of numbers. It might be a frequency table like this. Like, say for instance, it can be any example, and the score, say for instance, is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Something like, what number of sugar do you take in your tea or coffee? It can be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. It can be any example. There's 2 people, sorry, there's 5 people. That's the 4, the frequencies, the 4 people, the 2 people, and 1 people that take 5 lumps of sugar. Now, how do I get the mean now? I have to add all of them. So instead of saying, there's 2 that scored 1, 1 plus 1, plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, plus 4 3s, 3 plus 3 plus 3. Instead of that, we make it simple. We say 2 times 1 plus 5 times 2 plus 4 times 3 plus 2 times 4 plus 1 times 5. And I divide it. How many are there? You have to be able to find it yourself. 2 plus 5 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. So how many are there altogether? There's 14. So I have to divide by the total number of people or of things or whatever the case is. And then you get your answer. Give your answer in the degree they ask it. 2 decimal places, 3 significant figures. The way they ask the answer, give it in that way. Even if they ask it as an improper fraction or a mixed number, in this case, you can do that. So let's look at probability. Probability must always be given as a fraction in simplest form. People, I've said that so many times in the past. I've tried to turn your attention to it. So very important. And still, in the past exam, I still got answers in percentage. I got answers in decimals. That's not acceptable. You will lose your marks. Your answers must be in a fraction in simplest form. So you have to simplify it. And a decimal is not a fraction in simplest form. You have to give it as a normal fraction, as a vulgar fraction, not a decimal fraction. So let's look at this. A bag contains 24 discs. 8 are blue, 6 are yellow, 11 are pink. A disc is chosen at random. I put my hand in the bag, I take out a disc. What is my probability to choose a blue one? There's 8 blue ones, so it's the total number of 8. The number of possible discs are 8, and out of the total of 24, 8 on 24. For 8 on 24, you will not get a mark. You will get 0. You must simplify it to 1 on 3. Yellow, of course, then 6 out of 24, which is a quarter. You have to simplify it. A disc chosen is not pink. 11 of them are pink. What is not pink? All the others, meaning 24 minus 11 is the 13. And remember, if I say, what is the probability that the disc is green? There are no green discs in the bag. So the probability then is 0. 0 out of 24, which is 0. If there's no probability, if it's something that's not there, the probability is 0. Say, for instance, I throw a die. We talk about a dice, but that's actually plural. But let's say we throw the dice, and I ask you, what's the probability getting a 1? Right? It's 1 out of 6. What's the probability of getting a 2? It's 1 out of 6. And if I ask you, what's the probability of getting a 7? When I throw a dice, there's no chance, 0. And what if I ask you, what's the probability of get any number smaller or equal than 6? What's my probability? 6 out of 6, which is 1, right? So the probability can be everything, then the probability is 1, or the probability is nothing, which is 0. If you write none, none is not a probability. That's wrong. You have to write the probability is 0. It must be a number answer. So if I say, what's the probability of getting a number smaller or equal than 6? And you say, oh, that's wrong. You won't get marks. You must say 6 out of 6 equals 1. 1 is my answer there. I hope this is clear. So our next one is Pythagoras, the last study unit, and trigonometry. And remember, from all study units, there will be questions at least 12 or 13 marks from each study unit. I won't leave out anything. There will be definitely probability. There will be statistics. There will be trigonometry. There will be interest there or money problems. All of it will be asked, at least 12 or 13 marks. Study everything. See that you can know it. So here we get to the Theorem of Pythagoras. Theorem of Pythagoras, this is a very good example for you to see where does it come from. It comes from the squares on the sides of a right-angled triangle. So it must be a right-angled triangle. The square on that triangle, square of B and the square of A. If I cut it out and I paste it onto the red block, I will see it fits in. I put that purple block there, then there's space on the sides, and I cut up the green one and it will fit exactly. So the square on the short sides, if I add them, it will give you the square on the long side. But I'm not interested in the squares. I'm interested in the side, the length of the side. So to get the side, I must get the square root of that. And remember, if I look at that example, 9 plus 16 is 25. If I have the 25, minus the 16 gives me the 9. And if I have the 25 and I have the 9, I can get the 16 by subtracting. So if you have the long side square minus the short side square equals the other short side square, and you have to take the square root of that to get the length of the side. The long side we call the hypotenuse side. We're going to use that a lot in trigonometry. So the Theorem of Pythagoras, look at the first example. There I need to work out the hypotenuse side, the long side. So I just say c square equals 24 square plus 7 square. The square on the short side plus the square on the other short side. Get your answer, get the final answer, but that's c squared. How do I get c? I get the square root of that. So square root of 625, which gives me 25 units. That's the length. When it's centimeter, you give centimeter. If it's millimeter, whatever is the question, the units in the question, you give your answer. Okay, the next one, you have the hypotenuse side, you have the long side. So what happens there? I still know that a squared plus 11 squared is 16 squared. The square on the short side plus the square on the other short side gives you the square on the long side. But this plus 11 squared, I want a squared alone, so I subtract it on both sides. then I get my answer and the square root of the answer. So Pythagoras is straightforward. It's either number 1, like example number 1, or number 2, because you either work out the long side or you work out the short side. And if you do draw a lot of triangles for yourself and write some numbers on it and just work them out. Find the long side and find the short side. You need the practice, né? As I've said so many times, you need the practice. You can't just look at it and say, oh, it's easy, I can do it. No, you have to practice to be able to master it, make it your own. There's another one. Now, not so simple, just not so straightforward. We have a whole sketch there, and we have to work out x and y. Now, if you look at the top triangle, it is a right angle triangle, but I don't have enough information. I can't work out 2 unknowns. I only have the 12. So I can't start with the top triangle. I have to start with the bottom triangle where I have 2 of the 3, and then I can work out the 3. So I start with y squared, which is the hypotenuse side, equals 6 squared plus 8 squared. Get the square of 8, get the square of 6, get the final answer when I add them, which is 100. Now that's 8 squared. How do I get y? Get the square root of 100, which is 10. So now I've got y. And once I have y, then I jump to the next triangle, the top triangle, which I could not start with. But now I have the 10. So I can say the x squared plus the y squared, which is now 10 squared, x squared plus 10 squared is equal to the hypotenuse side squared, which is the 12 squared. Work it out. In the end, remember to get the square root, and you have the length of the side. X equals and y equals. So very important. Go through the examples. Do a lot. There's lots in the internet, even very colorful explanations and showing you how Pythagoras work. Once you've watched a few of them, you will see maths becomes interesting and more interesting all the time. Let's get to trigonometry. Sin, cos, and tan. What are those? Trigonometry is all about ratio, the ratio of sides. There's 3 sides. If I stand at an angle, go and put yourself at the angle. There's angle theta. Go and stand there. I look across and I see opposite. If I look across, that's opposite. Adjacent means touching me. So the one touching me, yeah, okay, there's 2 touching me, but the one short side touching me is called adjacent. How do I know which side is hypotenuse? The one opposite the 90 degrees. So first of all, check out your triangle. See which one is the 90 degrees. And opposite, exactly opposite the 90 degrees, you have your hypotenuse side. Then the one touching me on the other side is the adjacent, the one opposite across me, that's opposite. Now the ratio of different sides. We've got opposite on adjacent, we've got opposite on hypotenuse, and we've got adjacent on hypotenuse. And you have to know this, learn this. Sin theta is opposite on hypotenuse, like there on the screen. Cos theta is adjacent on hypotenuse, and tan theta is opposite on adjacent. You have to know this, otherwise you will not be able to figure out the questions. So, example, here we have a practical, you can have a practical or just a normal abstract triangle. How tall is the tree? So we can reach the top of the tree. We can't reach the top of the tree, so we walk away and measure an angle using a protractor, and distance using a laser. Okay, that's a really practical example. We know the hypotenuse side because a tree and the earth, we assume, and we can always assume, that is perpendicular. So there's our 90 degrees. We know it. We know that's 90 degrees. So opposite the 90 degrees is my hypotenuse. And the angle that is the angle that I'm standing looking at the top of the tree. Now I want the height of the tree. I've got the 20, I've got the 45. What's the height of the tree? Now I look at what do I need. I stand at the 45, I look across, that's opposite. I have hypotenuse. So with opposite and hypotenuse and 45, I must make an equation. So I decide opposite on hypotenuse is sin, the sine ratio. So I say opposite, it's the height, on hypotenuse is the 20, equals sin of 45. There we are. So how do I get rid of the divide by 20? I multiply the 20. So times 20, sin 45. 20 times sin 45 will give you the height of the tree. And this you key in your calculator exactly. See and make sure your calculator is on degrees. And then you work that out. You go to the settings, the mode settings, and you put it on degrees, not radians and not gradients. So then you multiply it and you'll get the correct answer. Otherwise your answer will be wrong if the settings is not on mode degrees. And also in this case, it will be indicated in the question how you should give your answer to 2 decimal places or 1 decimal place, and you have to round off exactly the way they ask it. So there's some trigonometry questions, some more. Again, right angle. You need to have a right angle. There it's shown. Find the value of theta. Now, I see in that sketch the 90 degrees is left out. Just fill it in there. Assume there's 90 degrees. Ne? Now I'm standing at theta. See yourself standing at theta. Look across. So I know the 5 is opposite. The one touching me is adjacent. So the hypotenuse is the one opposite the 90, which is no, not there, but it's there. You can draw it in. So what is the 5 and the 10? What can I make? The sine, the cosine, or the tangent? Sin, cos, or tan? That's tan. It's opposite on adjacent. So what do I write? Tan theta. Tan of the angle is opposite on adjacent. Tan of theta is 5 on 10. Now I have the answer. How do I get back to the angle? That's shift tan. So remember to, in your calculators, key in shift or second function, however your calculators are numbered, the keys, calibrated, shift tan answer, or second function tan answer. And what is the answer? Answer is 5 on 10. Ne? I've got the answer of tan theta. Shift tan 5 on 10, and you'll get your answer, 26.6. The next one also, there's the 90 degrees, the 12. You immediately know 12 is hypotenuse. It's opposite the 90 degrees. So I must find y. So I go and stand at the 38, which is known. Now what now? I tell myself, between the y and the 12, what do I make sin cos of tan? And I decide y is definitely not opposite, it's not across me, it's next to me, it's touching me, so it's adjacent. So it's adjacent on hypotenuse. So you say it will be cos, and I say cos of 38 is y on 12. So what will the y be? I get rid of the divide by 12, so I times with 12. 12 times cos 38, and you finally get your answer. And you will see on your calculator, you will see the answer goes on and on and on and on. And you round it off to what they ask in the question. Very important. check again. When you get to the answer, go back to the question and check again. How should I give the answer? How many places must I round it off? So go and do a lot of practice. Sin, cos, and tan, and you will definitely get answers, questions in the exam paper. So I think we reached the end of our session. All of the best, and really prepare yourself so that you enter the exam exactly with confidence. Know that you've done your part and God will do his part. And practice a lot. Be proud of yourself so that you'll be proud of your results and that I can also be proud of your results. All of the best. Thank you.